On this episode of the Global Travel Channel podcast show, we're going to go to South America, and then at the end of the show, we have a surprise for you all. More next. Hello and welcome to the Global Travel Channel podcast show. My name is Mark Philpott. On the show, we talk to people from across the world about all things related to travel. From amazing adventures to inspiring stories to the not so well known destinations, we cover it all. You can find all of our previous podcast episodes on our Global Travel Channel website by visiting www.globaltravelchannel.com. You can also download them from Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and a host of other sites that you'll find on our website. The Global Travel Channel is a collaboration between travel writers, photographers, YouTubers, podcasters, and bloggers from across the world. We bring you information that we hope makes your next travel experience an awesome one, no matter where you decide to travel to. You can also find the Global Travel Channel on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us so that you can keep updated on our new content postings as and when they happen. You can even now support us through Patreon. For as little as the price of a cup of coffee per month, you can help us continue to produce the podcast show. So why not take a look at our Patreon page and see if you'd like to make a contribution to our cause. Now on to today's show, and I'm super pumped up about today's show because we're trying something completely new on the Global Travel Channel podcast show. We've got one of our regular contributors coming back for another show. Her name is Natalie Thomas. Some of you would have heard Natalie talking to Angie and I not so long ago. And Natalie's going to join us today and talk about the wonderful city of Santiago in Chile, where she visited not so long ago. And then to end the show today, we're going to do a first on the podcast show. We're going to do a guided meditation. Now, if you haven't done meditation before, this is probably the greatest and easiest way for you to do it. You can just sit down there with your earphones on and listen to Natalie guide us through a wonderful meditation. And by the time the show's finished, you'll be all relaxed, chilled out, and in a fantastic place to take on whatever's next in your life journey. And it's a very warm welcome back to the Global Travel Channel podcast show to Natalie Thomas. Natalie, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be back again. I'm really excited.
Now, this is your third appearance on the show, so you must be doing something right.
Yes, my third, and hopefully not my last, because I really enjoy talking with you, and I really enjoy being here and just having a conversation about travel and all the fun things that come with it.
Well, that's great, because I know that our listeners love listening to you and all your travel stories and things that you've shared so far. So it is great to have you back today. Now, for those that are new to the show and haven't heard about Natalie before, she's based in Bali and she's a contributor to the Global Travel Channel. And you can check out her travel articles on our website at www.globaltravelchannel.com. And you can now continue to listen to her on our podcast show. So this is really showing the power of collaboration and how we got people like Natalie coming on and joining us and sharing in these amazing experiences. Has it been worthwhile for you, Natalie, so far?
Oh my gosh, yes, it's been so much fun. And I've been learning a lot just from doing the podcast with you. So thank you for having me.
No, that's fine. And I'm blown away by every guest that I have on. I just think it's just so cool listening to people's travel stories. The only problem is now that I'm here doing the podcast and I'm not out there traveling, which I need to change pretty soon. So
yes, you need to come to Bali.
we'll need to do that. Now we're going to talk about Bali, Chile. We're going to talk about your journey in meditation today, because there's a lot of guests who have seen the promos that I put up for the show, and we're going to do a guided meditation, and I think we're going to take away some of the myths around the whole meditation process. But let's go back to that start of that whole journey for you and how that evolved, and also what's really interesting, as you were telling me off air, that this evolved through your traveling experiences and traveling journeys as well, didn't it?
Totally. I noticed a major shift in my meditation practices and just deepening my knowledge about it just through my traveling.
Mm.
100%.
Yeah. Why do you think that was as you went through your traveling experiences? Why do you think meditation became a more and more important part of that aspect?
I think it's a mix of different things. When you travel, you are exposed to different energies in different countries and different people where meditation is a part of their culture. And learning it and being a part of it, it's more readily available for you. But there's also times during my travels or living abroad where I might have gone through a more challenging time and I went back to meditation to really get me through that. And from getting me kind of out of a funk, I've noticed a great improvement with myself, with how I feel, with how I look at the world. So it's definitely been a mix of things.
Hmm. Has that something that you've seen evident in other people that have been traveling as well? Because let's face it, when we're out there traveling and we might have a stressful day or have a bad moment, most people will go to a bar and get drunk. So
Yeah,
meditation's a different way of dealing with things. So have you come across others that have done that?
definitely. I've met a lot of people who have developed their own meditation practice because, I think getting drunk or whatever else you might do in the external is only just kind of a band-aid and not quite healthy. But meditation is a process that can really change you and really make you feel good and feel a lot better and make you feel more clear. But I have definitely met a lot of people. That's one of the amazing aspects of traveling is all the like-minded people that you do meet and all the like-minded travelers who are on a similar journey and who want those deeper questions in life and who want to feel good and really establish a healthy lifestyle.
How do you find a conversation about meditation actually starts when you're traveling? Is it with people you're traveling with, or have you traveled a lot by yourself, or do you travel with other people, or how does that process work for you?
When I first started traveling, I was traveling with another friend, and we were just bopping around a lot. And my meditation practice wasn't that strong; it was more of just a backpacking trip. But living abroad, it kind of comes out of nowhere. For example, when I lived in Santiago, Chile, my roommate meditated twice a day and had really pushed me into deepening my daily practice. Or living in Bali, there's so many meditation events and yoga meetups. So that world and that side of spirituality is a very, I wouldn't say it's easier to talk about, but it's more open to talk about in that space. And same when I lived in LA. I was really fortunate. My neighbor taught meditation just for free, and I really developed my practice through her and learned how to teach through her. So I think once you put it out there in this is my woo woo talk.
Mm.
Once you put it out there in the universe, it really does come back to you. And you're like, oh, that I didn't know you were a meditation teacher. Oh, you're going to this event. So it's kind of connecting all the dots and seeing the synchronicity of it.
Mm. I definitely assume that LA is a place where meditation, along with a lot of other practices that are perhaps not mainstream, and I'm not saying that meditation's not mainstream because it is, but I think you know what I'm saying in terms of
Totally.
it's probably a city that gravitates towards those sorts of things.
100%.
Yeah.
Even when I moved to LA, I moved there from Atlanta in 2013, and it's meditation's a lot bigger now than it was then. And there is meditation studios walking distance from where I lived. So it's definitely more open.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, you were telling me that your visit to Santiago in Chile was another big evolutionary change in yourself as a human being, but also in your meditation journey. Can you tell us about that?
So when I moved to Santiago, Chile, I think I mentioned this on one of the podcasts, but my plan was to go for 2 months, and I wound up staying for about a year. And my roommate he was using meditation to change and shift his life, and he had a normal job. He was an entrepreneur. He was an engineer, and he really taught me more about meditation because I had a meditation practice in LA, but I wasn't very consistent about it. And living abroad and moving to Santiago I miss it so much. It was one of my favorite years of my life. But when I first arrived, I didn't know the language. I was so far from home. I remember it was winter, and I just, I was kind of feeling like a little stuck when I first arrived. It took me about a month to adjust. And that really pushed me more into meditation and really centering myself and feeling calm and feeling safe. And then I remember things started going well in Santiago and I was super happy. And then something in my mind said, meditate every day for 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, interesting. So one day turned into 1 week, which turned into 2 weeks, which turned into a month, which turned into 2 months. And my body really started to crave meditation. So that's where I saw this huge shift happen for me in Santiago, where I really started to develop a daily practice and started to reap the benefits of it. And Santiago in itself it's a spiritual country. There's so much beautiful landscape. You're near all this energy, the volcanoes and the ocean and the desert in Patagonia, and a 5-hour plane ride from Easter Island. And it's known that Chile and Easter Island is one of the chakras of the world too. So it's just an energetically strong place. And I think that helped shifted me into a more daily practice for sure.
So your time there, and I just want to throw some facts out that people might not know about Santiago, but it is actually the 6th most populous Latin American city in the world. It has a population of about 5.5 million people, so it's a very big city, and it's a place, as you say, that's surrounded by tremendous energy as far as, the Andes Mountains are right on the doorstep, and it's actually Chile's actually the longest and thinnest country in the world. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't know it was the longest and thinnest in the world. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's
I knew it was long and thin.
and it's also a tri-continental nation because it has territories in Polynesia and Antarctica. So it's quite a unique country, and a lot of people won't know those little mere facts about it. And it also has the world's driest desert.
It does.
Have you been there?
I have. San Pedro de Atacama, it's the north of Chile. It was one of the most beautiful places I've ever visited. It was phenomenal. There's the geysers, and then you go out to the desert. There was flamingos.
Really?
It was called Laguna Chaxa.
Yeah.
I think I'm saying it right. And there was flamingos in the middle of the desert.
That's extraordinary.
It was beautiful. And then the astronomy, it was a really wild place.
How far north of Santiago is that?
I believe it was only an hour plane ride, and then you take an hour bus into the desert, so it's not very far.
Okay, is it something you could do in a day trip?
I would say no, only because there's so much to see, and there's so many amazing tours that I would recommend. I think I stayed 3 nights. You can do it in 2 or maybe 1, but I recommend a little bit longer just so you can really reap the benefits of being there and seeing the desert.
Now, you lived in Santiago for a year. What were some of the highlights in terms of, you must have got to know the place pretty well by living there for a year. So what were some of the highlights of the things that you got to see and do there?
Oh, wow. Well, just living in the city itself was absolutely beautiful because, like you mentioned, it's surrounded by the Andes Mountains. And it was quite, I don't know, it was quite the scene because you step out and then you're surrounded by these snow-capped mountains everywhere. It almost feels like you're in this little secluded city in the middle, like, of far from home. So just living there was really, really cool. And I got to visit the beach, Viña del Mar and Valparaiso, like the cutest little towns. I haven't made it to Patagonia yet, which is something that I really, really want to do. And something really cool was I have friends. I know I mentioned in the last podcast episode I was a springboard diver. I have friends who were cliff divers for Red Bull.
Oh, right.
And they actually came to Chile. They were diving in a little area called Lago Ranco. So I got to fly down and watch a cliff diving competition. Which was really awesome. It was in this beautiful location in Chile, and watched people dive off cliffs where there's waterfalls, and that was definitely a main highlight for me.
Did you give it a go yourself?
No.
You're a diver.
Oh my gosh. I stood on my friends were funny. I got to stand on the platform and look down, and I was like, no way. I believe it's almost 20 meters or more. It's crazy.
Oh,
It's way too high. Yeah.
I,
It's insane.
I get a sore back just thinking about it.
I know.
The splash would be
So,
terrible. So Santiago, is it a safe city?
yes, it's actually one of the most safe cities in the world. Um, I think at the time it was ranked the top 5 most safe cities in the world.
Mm.
So I definitely felt safe living there.
And what was it like from a financial point of view to live there? Was accommodation relatively cheap and food and things? Was it, how much would you need to budget a month to live there?
I actually got very lucky. So, how another selling point for me when I first moved there was a friend of mine. She had another friend who was looking for a roommate that spoke English fluently
Mm.
because he was trying to learn for free rent. So, I didn't have to pay rent when I lived there. I got very lucky.
Oh, so you became an English
Yeah.
teacher.
Yeah, I got very lucky. I think rent though is between 500 and 700 US dollars
Okay.
around there.
Yeah, and that's in the city area.
That's what I would say, maybe 700, 600 or 700.
Mm.
Um, Financially, it's one of the more expensive cities in South America, but compared to where I lived in LA and I've lived in New York, it was nothing in comparison
Mm.
to how expensive those cities are in the US.
Yeah.
So,
And is it easy to get around as in terms of, is the public transport efficient and things like that? How do you get around the city?
oh, the public transport was super easy. They have a metro system and super easy. I was able to use it straight off the bat. You can even just put it in your Google Maps. And then they have Uber and stuff like that. But I usually just use public transpo. They also have a bus system too.
Mm. What about the food side of it? How was the different options for food?
My favorite food options was the Peruvian food.
Mm.
um, that was that was the highlight. Having some nice fresh ceviche um, was definitely my favorite part of
Mm.
the food scene.
Mm. I'm interested to know if we continue talking about the meditation journey in
Yeah.
consultation with your traveling journey. Did you, when you started meditating more frequently, did your
Mhm.
diet change at all? Did your nutrition intake change as your body became more adaptive with being connected to itself?
Yes, your diet definitely changes. And I noticed a change within my diet when I first started this journey about 7 years ago. As of now, I still eat some meat. I only eat fish.
Mm.
Before, I did eat meat. I cut out red meat when I lived in the U.S., and then it slowly started just transitioning to chicken and other animal products.
Mm.
But I did definitely notice, and I like dairy, like I love cheese.
Mm.
And sometimes it's really hard in Santiago because they have really yummy cheese and wine. But I did notice a shift in my diet. I've been off all forms of meat except fish for about a year, and I only eat fish like maybe twice a week just to get some more protein.
Now, was that a conscious thing, or was your body actually telling you, "Hey, I don't want this other stuff anymore"?
Um, I think it was more of my body. And I noticed a shift when I came to Bali. That's where the whole meat and eating thing started to shift for me. But I really think also Bali, it's so easy to eat vegan and eat health, not, yeah, I guess more healthy, vegetarian, not eat meat because there's so many options. So Bali is a tiny bit easier. But I still have, even when I traveled, I have continued the same diet.
Hmm. Now you've been on the road for, as you say, 7 years now. How's the process of nutrition changed for you over that time? What were you eating in LA before you left there? What was your diet consisting of there?
I still eat relatively healthy in LA, just because in LA it is pretty easy to eat healthy there. It's more easy to eat healthy there than it was in South America. In South America, I wasn't as good.
Mm, mm,
But when you start to meditate and you start yoga and really dive into the practice, your body shifts because your energy level shifts and your energetic field, your vibration shifts. So you naturally just are not in line with a lot of different foods,
mm.
maybe more processed foods, sugar, even alcohol. You'll notice the effects and havoc on your body a lot more versus before getting into that.
Mm.
So through the change of your vibration, it changes your vibration when eating foods as well.
Mm. Did you drink alcohol throughout this journey? Are you somebody that has a drink every now and again, or regularly, or?
Yeah, I do. I noticed before I started my meditation journey and my whole spiritual practice in 2012. So prior to 2012, I was definitely partying too much and I was in this bad kind of funk. And I noticed I really could not ever go back to that lifestyle just because it did not, one, it didn't serve me, it wasn't healthy, but I naturally would get more sick. And even now, like I still have some drinks, but it's more wine.
Mm,
In Santiago, like the wine is amazing there. So it is also in the culture and in their tradition just to have a cup of red wine at dinner. But even here in Bali, I still have a glass of wine, and I don't try to put so much pressure on myself to eat a certain way or be a certain way. I just more so listen to my body intuitively, and there is something in Bali where you don't really feel like you even want to have a drink. It's very weird.
mm, mm,
Like it's just, especially in Ubud, when I'm in Ubud, I don't even think about having that glass of wine. It's very interesting.
mm,
Um, but now I don't put too much pressure on myself and I still love a glass of red wine.
mm,
It's part, I still like to dance and have fun,
mm,
but when I'm out, I'm just way more conscious of my alcohol intake for sure.
mm. You wrote to me recently that Bali is the spiritual capital of the world. I find that really interesting in terms of your mindset since you've been there. Now, you've been on the road for a long time, you've been to different places, and you've evolved throughout that journey. And one of the reasons I love doing this show is because I like to hear about people's evolution as they travel and the impact. Where do you think you are now that you're in Bali on your own personal evolution trajectory? What stage are
Mhm.
you at, would you say?
I'm not really sure what stage I'm at, but I think Bali is an interesting place because a lot of people come to Bali even to heal or to find their spiritual practice. Or it's really, and when I say spiritual practice, I really mean just connecting back to yourself,
Mm,
feeling whole, feeling, um, gaining clarity, understanding your purpose. A lot of people who do come here have left their 9 to 5 jobs, or maybe they're going through a hard time and they want to get out of that funk or just really grow as a person. So my journey over the last year has definitely been extreme amounts of growth, but we're always challenged. So even when we are growing and our spirituality level is rising, we are always challenged, and we are always, maybe it's a person who comes our life that is a mirror image of us, that in which they show us what we need to work on, or maybe a certain situation happens. So we're always evolving. So even from being in Bali, I've seen a massive shift in my energy and a massive shift in my own spiritual practice, but it's developing every single day for sure.
And how has that shift resulted in the way that you view other people and the world around you?
The shift, I think the biggest shift happened to me in 2012 when I was living in Atlanta, and that's what made me really see the world through different eyes, and realizing that as humans we are all interconnected, and every situation that happens to us, we're not to blame the outside. We have to go within and really understand why we're going through that situation or why this person showed up in our lives, and really understanding that everything is exactly how it should be, taking away the blame of other people, and and also knowing that we can have in this lifetime whatever we put our minds to, which is hard because we have very limiting beliefs of what we can and cannot do and how much money we can make and what job we can have and where we can travel to. But there's really no boundaries and no barriers. And once we realize this, we can shift our consciousness to attract a more attractive life for ourselves.
Mm.
So that has really opened up. It was almost like looking through tunnel vision, and then it like crashed down, and then boom, it just, something came to me where I saw this way grander picture.
Let's play the hypothetical game for a minute.
Yeah.
If What if you hadn't done the traveling that you had thus far in your life and you were still back in
Mhm.
LA? What do you think your life would be like today?
Oh wow. Even traveling to LA, I remember getting off the plane and feeling like a kid. I was like, "Oh my God." I thought I would never leave. I really thought I would never leave LA. I loved it. I still do. But if I had just stayed there, I I don't think I don't think my life would have shifted so greatly. And I definitely would not have been learning as much as I've learned
Mm.
just through meeting other people and learning about their cultures and their customs, and learning a new language. And I definitely would have been more in that tunnel vision mindset. But when it comes to spirituality, anyone, no matter where you're at in the world, how much traveling you've done, how much traveling you haven't done, you can still come back to that place of openness and mindfulness and feeling connected. So traveling definitely helps with that. But if someone maybe doesn't like to travel as much, or they're in just one place and they're super happy with their job, that's totally fine. You can still tap into that knowing and that power and understanding. So it just comes from within.
I think some aspect of it comes from the environment we're in. I've had the opportunity to travel to many places in the world, and when I arrive in certain places and spend some time there, I feel a sense of spiritual connection to some places that I go to. And that makes me want to dive deeper into the particular place that I'm at, whether it be from a cultural significance point of view, or, as you just said, spending quality time with yourself in that particular place, because there's some form of energy there that brings something out of you that you don't get from other places. Does that make sense to you?
100%. I feel that when I travel too. I definitely feel very connected to some places, or maybe not as connected to some.
And how has that experience for you in relation to the people that you come across on your journey, has that also brought you in touch with like-minded individuals that have helped you from both a personal and a business point of view?
Oh yes, for sure. There's places I've been to where I've been like, wow, like I feel an intense connection. And then it's brought forth more people from that area who were able to show me more about their country or their city, and were able to teach me. So having that connection with a place is really powerful, because you can feel it. You can feel the energy.
So out of the places you've been to thus far, which individual place would you say has had the biggest impact on your change of your, I guess, spiritual connection to yourself?
I would, well, definitely Chile, because I live there, and Bali because I live here. But as for just maybe traveling, I felt a really deep connection with Brazil. It was one of my favorite countries I visited, and every single place is so different and unique, and the culture and the environment. That's definitely a place that stands out in my mind. And as for cities, I loved Singapore. Which is so random. Like I got to Singapore and I was like, oh, I love this place. And that's kind of, which is pretty rare for me, because I like cities, but not, I don't know. I usually live on the outskirts of cities, but I was in Singapore and I was like really vibing it. So it was kind of funny.
We have a thing on this show about Singapore because, one, I lived there for 7 years, and I've had a few guests on from Singapore, and I've got a few more coming up actually that we're going to talk about different aspects of Singapore. But it really is an incredible place, and I think when you take away the whole ritz and glamour of it all, and you actually get into Singapore, and it's like most places that you travel to, and you'll know this by when you live in a place, you see it completely different than when you're just there for 10 days or so. Yeah. Let's get back to talking about meditation, and let's actually get into meditation, because part of the show I wanted to do today was to get you to provide a guided meditation for the listeners, and to give them the opportunity, I guess, for those particularly that haven't dipped their toe into meditation, and to take away all this myth and hype about what meditation isn't, and to give people the opportunity to experience maybe for the first time. And for others that are regulars at meditating, then why not join in as well? So how about I hand over to you completely now, Natalie, and you take us through to the end of the show by giving us a guided meditation.
Sure, I would love to. And I'll just start off by saying, before we go into this, just it's all at your own pace, and there's no right and wrong, and don't be hard on yourself for any reason if you have all these thoughts in your mind, because that is completely normal. But yeah, okay, so let's start in a nice seated position. I recommend either maybe sitting on a nice cushion or sitting on a chair, just whatever most comfortable for you. sometimes a chair is best. That way you have a nice little backrest so you can keep your feet on the ground, helping you even feel more. But for me, I'm sitting on my pillow, my little meditation pillow. And when you start to settle in, the main focus here is we're going to focus on breath. So let's just sit down and just get nice and comfortable. Feel your sit bones firmly planted on the chair or your pillow. Maybe your legs are crossed, or maybe you're in your chair and your feet are firmly planted on the ground. Now we'll position ourselves before we begin our practice today. Make sure your spine is nice and long and erect. So it shouldn't be slouched over, but just nice and long, but your shoulders are relaxed. And we're keeping our hands rested on our legs or on our knees, and our palms are facing up. And this signifies that we're open to receive. So we're going to start here by taking a nice deep breath in through our nose. An audible exhale out. Really focus on nice deep breaths throughout your practice today. Throughout our breath, which is our force of life, this is what makes us feel good and what eases anxiety, reduces stress, and even helps our right brain connect to our left brain. So another deep breath in through your nose. Audible exhale out. Now with our spine nice and long and our shoulders relaxed, our eyes are closed, but see if you, with your eyes closed, see if you can just slightly gaze towards your third eye center. It's that little spot in between your eyebrows. And it shouldn't be a strain, it shouldn't hurt. It really signifies the difference between sleeping and meditation. Because when our eyes are heavy, we tend to drift off into sleep. But just by keeping our eyes slightly lifted to the third eye center, helps keep us aware throughout our practice. So let's really focus on breath. Another inhale through your nose. Exhale out through your mouth. Now, throughout meditation, if thoughts arise, just acknowledge them. Almost look at them as if they're in front of you, like they're not a part of you. They don't mean anything. You can just simply observe them and then let them go. And always come back to breath. Deep inhales and deep exhales. Now, as we're feeling grounded and we're drifting off more into a meditative state, coming back to breath, we're going to work on grounding ourselves. So now picture a cord coming from the base of your spine, your root chakra. The root chakra is what grounds you. It's your stability in your life. It's also your emotion and needs of interconnection and being fearless. So from my root chakra, picture a cord. And this cord is going deep, deep down into the earth. So it's connected at your base, but it's the other end is making its way all the way down into the earth's surface. You're picturing it, it's moving down. You're starting to feel more connection to yourself. The core center, that other end of the cord, it grabs hold of the core center. Deep breaths in, exhale out. Keep coming up. Keep focusing on your deep breaths. Now, being connected to this cord, picture everything that you're holding on to, whether it's a situation, a place, or perhaps just like a feeling. And picture it leaving your body through this cord. So it's leaving this cord and it's getting recycled into the earth. Let's just take a few moments to picture this. Even if you don't know what you need to release, tell your higher self, I release everything that no longer serves me. Just take a few moments, breathe deeply as you release this energy that does not serve you anymore. Knowing that this energy, it's no right and wrong, it's just leaving, just does not have a purpose. It's getting recycled into the earth. And with this energy leaving, it's creating more space, more openness, more light within your body. You're more open to reap the positive energy and the benefits of your meditation practice by creating this space. Now, once it's recycled, picture a bright white light. Actually, the light can be any color that vibrates with you, that really resonates with you. Perhaps it's a purple color, maybe it's a nice, beautiful blue. And this light is starting at the core of the earth. And it's slowly making its way up the cord, nice and slow. And this light enters the base of your spine, your root chakra, and it makes its way throughout your body, hitting your second chakra, your sacral chakra, your stomach, your solar plexus. It makes its way to your heart center, your heart chakra. And take a second to stop at your heart chakra. Really feel this warm, positive light within your heart chakra right now. Maybe your chest feels a bit warm. Maybe you feel more emotional. Always coming back to breath. Breathe in and breathe out. If you would like to do an easy mantra, picture breathing in peace and exhale love. Now, within this light in your heart chakra, it's shining out. It's just shining out, perhaps hitting. Maybe you have a roommate you live with, your neighbors, the town. It's just spreading wider and wider. Maybe it covers the country you're in. Really reaching all people who need it most. Sending love to yourself. And then take a moment to send this light to someone maybe who needs it most in their life right now. Breathe in. Breathe out. Keep focusing on breath. Now this light makes its way up to your throat chakra, speaking your truth, all the way up to your third eye center and out through your crown. This new beautiful light that's in your body, it's making space to attract what you ultimately desire. It's creating more love within your heart. And it's creating space to change your vibration. Breathe in peace. Exhale love. As thoughts arise, just acknowledge them and let them go. Just observe how you feel. Be mindful if any messages come through to you. See if you can just deeply relax into the space with yourself. If any feelings or thoughts arise, just let them go. Send them to the light. Be mindful of how you feel in this new space. Take a second to have a few breaths on your own in silence. Now start to slightly move your fingers, coming back to this present moment, coming back to your body. Notice any sensations you might feel. Maybe you might feel happy, sad. Maybe the feelings have arisen in you that you didn't know you had. For we release a lot that's buried in our subconscious when we meditate. Take nice deep inhales, just coming back into this present space and awareness of time. With our eyes still closed, maybe we notice instinctively just our surroundings. Move your shoulders. And when you feel ready, just slowly blink open your eyes. Take a few more deep breaths. Notice how you feel, or how you don't feel. It's okay. And that no matter, just by sitting in silence, know that it's working, even if you might not feel it, that your body's thanking you, your higher self is thanking you. And as we come out of the meditation, see how you feel through the rest of the day. See if you notice any slight changes, any thoughts that might arise, any sparks of creativity. And if not, it's okay. There's no right and wrong. And thank you guys for joining me on this guided meditation journey today. I hope you enjoyed it.
Natalie, that was wonderful. Thank you. I just want to add that I've got my puppy dog, Oscar, at my feet, and he's never looked so relaxed in his entire life.
Yeah, that tends to happen when we meditate. Our pets, they pick it up, and they get very, very calm. They almost feel it. They almost join you.
Yeah, it's incredible. He's like completely still, like he's usually jumping up and down at this stage wanting to have a chat to my podcast guest, but he's great. Listen, that was fantastic. Thank you very much. And I'm very keen to hear from listeners today on how you found that. If it was your first time meditating and you may not feel anything, you may feel something tomorrow, you may feel something in a couple of days' time. But if you do want to share some positive impact on that from the meditation, please get in touch and let us know, because we're really looking for that. Now, Natalie, you've got to shoot off in a minute, but I just wanted to end today's show by saying to our listeners that we're nearly at the end of the month of August, and next month is September. You have a very exciting thing happening next month. You're off to Spain. Why don't you quickly tell us about that?
Sure. I'm leading a retreat in Mallorca, Spain, September 16th to the 21st. It's a yoga meditation retreat, but it also has a nice mix of adventure and hiking and beach trips. And it's a well-rounded program where we really learn tools of how to change our life. So when we go back home or we go back to our normal environment, we're able to take those tools and facilitate change, but also learn from the culture of Spain and connect with like-minded individuals and just have a really nice time.
Fantastic. I'll put the details in the link in the description of the podcast. If you are interested in being around like-minded people on this growth explosion that's happening around the world right at the moment, then you can join Natalie in Spain. Natalie, I'd love to chat to you when you come back from Spain. Tell us about the experience and all the things that you got up to, and we'll have you back on the show again.
It will be wonderful. I'd be honored to do so. And thank you so much for having me today. It's been a blast.
Thank you very much, and we'll speak again soon. Natalie Thomas. There you are, ladies and gentlemen. Well, if you enjoyed our episode today, there's plenty more waiting for you on our website at www.globaltravelchannel.com. It's not the only place you can find our podcasts. You can download them from Apple Podcast. You can also get them from Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Play, just to name a few. But you can find all the list on our website to see how you can download and listen to it. Don't forget, we have a Patreon page now. And if you want to make a contribution to the ongoing sustainability of this podcast show, you enjoy our content and you want to help us be able to create more and more of the content, check out our Patreon page. The link is in the description of this podcast episode. Well, that's it for me for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did in bringing it to you, and as well as Natalie. All that's left for me to say is my name is Mark Philpott, and until next time, I wish you all bon voyage.